Welcome. We've got some thrilling Arsenal news lined up for you, so stay tuned until the end to catch all the latest updates. And don't forget to leave 300 likes to keep us motivated in bringing you the latest Arsenal updates. Arsenal nicked a hard-earned point in a proper blood and thunder London derby at Stamford Bridge, grinding out a 1-1 draw against 10-man Chelsea in front of a boiling hot crowd. The game had the lot: a horror tackle, a red card, a towering header each, and enough needle to make your nan wince. Moisés Caicedo got his marching orders just before half-time for an agricultural lunge on Merino that left the Spaniard needing a new shin pad and the referee reaching for red after a VAR peek. From that moment the Gunners pinned Chelsea back, but Robert Sanchez turned into prime-day Lev Yashin and Arsenal couldn't find the winner their second-half dominance deserved. Declan Rice ran the midfield like a bloke who'd had 3 cups of tea and a row with his missus, bossing everything in sight and rightly strolling off with man-of-the-match bubbly. Bukayo Saka whipped in another peach of a cross for Merino to nod home his first Premier League goal in red and white, levelling things minutes after Trevoh Chalobah had risen like a double-decker bus to thump Chelsea ahead from a corner. Despite wave after wave of Arsenal pressure, a bit ease flattered to deceive, young Miles Lewis-Skelly looked like a lad thrown in at the deep end, and the killer touch stayed on the team bus. In the end, both sides cancelled each other out in a classic scrap, Chelsea dogged and defiant with 10, Arsenal furious they didn't turn the screw. A point keeps the Gunners top, but Mikel Arteta will be giving the lads a proper rollicking for not burying the chances when it was 11 against 10. Proper Premier League, innit? Mikel Arteta speaks out on Moisés Caicedo about pulling no punches in his assessment of Caicedo's reckless hack on Merino. Right from the off, Taylor was having none of it, flashing early cautions to a smattering of Arsenal lads as the challenges flew in thick and fast, the sort that make your teeth rattle. Chelsea, egged on by the home crowd's guttural roars, pressed high and proper, testing the mettle of Arsenal's back four, though David Raya enjoyed a relatively quiet opening gambit between the sticks. Jurrien Timber and Christian Mosquera stood tall on the flanks like sentinels at a pub door, while Piero Hincapié hoovered up the loose change in the middle. Up the other end, a bit ease and Gabriel Martinelli cut sharp figures, their darting runs full of menace but lacking that final, ruthless flourish, all sizzle, no steak, as the old saying goes. The powder keg truly ignited in the 36th minute, when Moisés Caicedo, Chelsea's midfield terrier, launched into a studs-up horror show of a lunge on Arsenal's Mikel Merino. The Spaniard hit the deck like a sack of spuds, blooded and wincing, but dusted himself off to soldier on, the mark of a proper warrior. VAR had a right gander, and after a spot of chin-stroking, upgraded the initial booking to a straight red, sending Caicedo for an early bath and plunging Stamford Bridge into a stunned silence. The home faithful were apoplectic, baying for blood at what they saw as soft justice, while Arsenal's bench erupted in a mix of relief and righteous fury. From there, the Gunners tilted the pitch their way, ramping up the pressure like a pressure cooker on the hob, but the half fizzled out goalless, a nod to Robert Sanchez's cat-like reflexes in the Chelsea goal, who clawed away a couple of half-chances with the poise of a man who'd nicked a fiver off his nan. The sides trudged off at the break with Arsenal holding the whip hand, but Chelsea burst from the dressing rooms with fire in their veins and a point to prove. It was just shy of the hour mark when a devilish corner swung in like a boomerang, finding Trevoh Chalobah unmarked in the mixer. The centre-back rose like a salmon leaping upstream, thumping a header past a flailing Raya and into the net, Stamford Bridge detonating in a cacophony of joy, the Blues sensing a smash-and-grab robbery right under Arsenal's noses. For a heartbeat, the Gunners looked leggy, their midfield caught napping as Ricardo Calafiori, who'd wobbled like a jelly in the first half, was rightly hooked for the fresh legs of Miles Lewis-Skelly. The away end held its breath, wondering if this was the cue for Chelsea to park the bus and nick it. But Arsenal's riposte was swift as a London bus in the rush hour, or at least, as swift as these things get in the cauldron of a derby. Barely had the echoes of Chelsea's cheers faded when Bukayo Saka, the golden boy tormenting the left flank, floated in a cross sweeter than a bag of Parma violets. Mikel Merino, still smarting from his earlier brush with Caicedo, timed his leap to perfection, nodding home with the cool assurance of a poacher who supped from the top table before. It was the Basque's first Premier League cracker for the club, a moment of sheer class that hushed the shed end and set the Arsenal faithful into a frenzy of scarves aloft. Saka's delivery was vintage wizardry, earning him the nod as assist kingpin, while Merino's aerial nous flipped the script quicker than you can say get in there. Speaking after the match, Mikel Arteta didn't mince his words on the pivotal red card moment, pulling no punches in his assessment of Caicedo's reckless hack on Merino. That challenge on Mikel was a proper shocker, studs flying in like he was auditioning for a demolition derby. Arteta fumed in his post-match huddle with the press pack. Moisés went in with everything, no thought for the consequences, and thank heavens Villa had eyes on it. It could have been a lot worse for our lad. Mikel's a fighter, blood all over his socks, but he got up and showed what he's made of. That's the spirit we need. We turned it to our advantage, but decisions like that change games, and we've got to be ruthless when we're on top. Arteta's sultaness drew a few raised eyebrows, with some Chelsea diehards muttering about sour grapes, but the Spaniard was unrepentant, his passion bubbling over like a kettle on the boil. With parity restored and Chelsea down to 10 men scrapping like cornered alley cats, Arsenal ought to have run rings round them, laying siege to Sanchez's citadel with wave after wave of red and white menace. Declan Rice, the midfield colossus and bona fide man of the match, orchestrated the chaos like a conductor at the proms, tackling like a pitbull with a bone, threading needles through the eye of a storm, and clocking an imperious 8/10 for his Herculean graft. Martin Zubimendi slotted in a tidy 6, steady as a vicar's handshake, but it was Rice who kept the Arsenal engine purring through the murk. The gunners poured forward, Merino nearly nicking a brace with a rasping drive that Sanchez somehow clawed off the line, while Martinelli fired a belter from a tight angle that stung the keeper's mitts like a wasp in a sock. Yet, for all their bells and whistles, Arsenal couldn't land the knockout punch that their dominance screamed for, a classic case of huffing and puffing without blowing the house down. A bit at ease, the summer show pony, flattered to deceive with a limp 5/10, his tricks buried under the derby duvet like a forgotten fiver in the laundry. Timber and Mosquera pocketed solid 7s for their no-frills defending, brick walls in human form, while Hincapi and the departed Calafiori scraped by on 6 in a backline that bent like a banana but never snapped. Lewis Skelly, chucked in at the deep end, looked a touch green around the gills at a frantic 5, his raw edges showing in the scrap, the sort of baptism by fire that forges legends or breaks them. Chelsea, bless their cotton socks, refused to roll over and play dead, with Maresca's mob bunkering down like they'd invented the art of the Alamo. Sanchez was a one-man wall of saves, pulling off a string of pearlers that had the away lot tearing their hair out, while Chalabar's set-piece stunner stood as a testament to their never-say-die graft. Even a man light, the Blues harried and hassled, turning the green sward into a proper mud wrestling ring. No silk scarves here, just sweat, spittle, and sheer bloody-mindedness. It was the kind of dogged shift that earns a grudging tip of the cap from neutrals supping pints in the stands. No silverware on show, but buckets of heart. In the final reckoning, a point apiece keeps Arsenal's title tilt chugging along like a Northern Line train in the peak, though Arteta will be chewing the furniture over those squandered openings in a derby dripping with everything but a decisive edge. Rice's midfield mastery lit up a patchy day for the Gunners, and Merino's header will linger long in the lore of these crosstown tussles. As the Thames fog rolled in thick as pea soup, both mobs of supporters traipsed home with that timeless cocktail of chest-swelling pride and nagging what-ifs, quintessential Premier League pantomime, straight from the script of football's grand old theatre. Roll on the next chapter, eh? Merino, the Basque warrior, nods Arsenal level after Caicedo horror tackle Gunners grind out point at 10-man Chelsea. Arsenal nicked a priceless point in a proper spicy London derby at Stamford Bridge, battling back to grab a 1-1 draw against 10-man Chelsea and keep their grip on top spot, even if the gap's now been trimmed to 5 points. What started as a right old-fashioned tear-up, full of flying boots and Anthony Taylor waving cards about like a bloke selling ice creams at the seaside, turned into a one-sided siege after Moisés Caicedo got himself sent for an early shower with a horror lunge on Mikel Merino. The Gunners threw the kitchen sink at Chelsea after the break, but, credit where it's due, Robert Sanchez had the game of his life and Enzo Maresca's lads defended like their mortgages depended on it. The turning point came just before half-time when Caicedo went steaming in, studs raking down Merino's shin and leaving the Spaniard with claret pouring out his sock. VAR took one look and told Taylor to upgrade the yellow to red, and suddenly Stamford Bridge went quieter than the Emirates when Spurs score. Merino, proper Basque hardman that he is, patched himself up and stayed on the pitch, while Arsenal smelt blood and spent the rest of the afternoon camped in Chelsea's half. Chelsea still managed to nick the lead on the hour when Trevoh Chalobah rose like a London bus at a set-piece and buried a header past David Raya, sending the Matthew Harding end into absolute meltdown. The joy lasted all of 90 seconds though. Bukayo Saka swung in one of those trademark whipped crosses and Merino, still bandaged and bruised, leapt highest to thump home the equaliser and spark bedlam in the away end. One each, game on, but somehow the winner never came. In the end, it was a classic case of should've, could've, would've for Mikel Arteta's side. Declan Rice ran the midfield like a man possessed. Soccer was unplayable down the right, yet Arsenal couldn't find the cutting edge against a Chelsea side happily parking 2 buses and a black cab. A point on the road at a proper tough venue keeps the title train rolling, but the Gunners will know they left 2 behind in SW6. Proper Premier League madness, innit? Thanks for watching Arsenal Time. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Continue following the Gunners' journey with us, and see you in the next video. Come on, you Gunners!